What if a few simple phrases could reveal someone's true intentions instantly, and the only reason you've been hurt before is because you didn't know how to recognize them? Welcome to Monk Motivation, where we break down powerful insights to help you protect your energy and grow stronger from within. Today we're uncovering the hidden phrases that reveal true intentions in relationships and how to recognize them before they cost you your peace. Listen closely, because what I'm about to share can save you years of confusion, emotional pain, and wasted energy. This isn't surface-level advice. It comes from years of understanding human behavior, relationship patterns, and deeper wisdom. There are certain phrases that, when a man uses them, reveal his true intentions instantly. Ignoring them is like hearing an alarm and choosing to stay in danger anyway. These are not just warning signs, they're subtle forms of manipulation hidden inside everyday conversation. And once you recognize them, you won't be able to ignore them again. Stay with this, because the deeper you go, the clearer everything becomes. Before getting into those phrases, there's something important you need to understand. Many women have been conditioned to overlook reality. They've been taught to give chances, to see potential instead of truth, to fix instead of protect. Over time, this conditioning weakens natural instincts, the ability to sense when something feels off. And because of that, certain men take advantage. They use language in a calculated way to test your limits, lower your standards, and slowly disconnect you from your own sense of worth. There's an old principle that teaches that words carry more than meaning. They carry energy. When someone speaks, they're not just sharing thoughts, they're revealing their mindset, their intentions, and how they truly see you. That's why some conversations leave you drained, confused, or unsettled, even when you can't explain why. Your intuition picks up on what your mind tries to justify. What you're learning here goes beyond relationships. It's about protecting your energy and your direction in life. Because the person you allow close to you doesn't just affect your emotions, they influence your confidence, your decisions, your environment, and even your future. Choosing wrong doesn't just cost time, it costs peace. But learning to recognize and walk away early creates space for something better. The first phrase to pay attention to is when a man says something like, "You're too sensitive," or "You're overreacting." This isn't harmless. It's a subtle way of making you question your own feelings. Instead of addressing what you're expressing, he shifts the focus onto you as the problem. In reality, this reveals his inability to handle honesty and emotional depth. When someone says this, they're testing you. They want to see if you'll silence yourself to make them comfortable. A man who respects you doesn't dismiss your emotions. He tries to understand them. He listens, even if he doesn't fully agree. But someone who minimizes your feelings is showing you that your voice matters less than his convenience. Over time, this can damage your confidence in your own instincts. You start second-guessing everything, your reactions, your thoughts, your inner voice. That's the goal of manipulation, to disconnect you from yourself, because once you stop trusting your intuition, you become easier to control. The second phrase to watch for is, "I'm just being honest," especially when it comes after something hurtful. This is another common tactic. It disguises cruelty as truth. Real honesty doesn't aim to hurt. It aims to communicate with respect. When someone uses honesty as an excuse to be harsh, they're not being truthful. They're being careless or even intentional in causing harm. Then, when you react, they shift the blame onto you for being affected. This creates confusion. You begin to think that maybe you're too sensitive for wanting kindness. But the truth is simple. Someone who genuinely cares about you won't take pleasure in tearing you down. Even difficult conversations can be handled with respect. There's a difference between being real and being reckless with someone's feelings. Patterns like these don't always look extreme at first. They build slowly. A comment here, a dismissal there. Over time, they shape how you see yourself. And that's why recognizing them early matters so much. This isn't about becoming defensive or closed off. It's about becoming aware. It's about listening, not just to what someone says, but how it feels when they say it. Because your intuition is not there to confuse you, it's there to guide you. The more you learn to trust it, the harder it becomes for anyone to manipulate you. And that changes everything. Listen carefully, because what you're about to understand can protect you from years of confusion, emotional pain, and wasted effort. This isn't just relationship advice, it's awareness. There are certain phrases that reveal a person's true intentions instantly. When you learn to recognize them, you stop second-guessing yourself and start seeing people clearly for who they are. Before going deeper, you need to understand something important. Many people have been conditioned to overlook reality. They've been taught to give chances, to see potential instead of truth, to fix instead of protect. Over time, this disconnects them from their natural instinct, the ability to sense when something feels wrong. And because of that, certain individuals use subtle language to test boundaries, lower standards, and slowly make you question your worth. Words are never just words. They carry intention, energy, and meaning beyond what's spoken. That's why some conversations leave you feeling drained, confused, or unsettled, even when you can't explain why. Your intuition is picking up on something real, even if your mind tries to rationalize it away. Learning to trust that feeling is one of the most important skills you can develop. This isn't just about relationships, it's about protecting your peace and your future. The person you allow into your life will influence far more than your emotions. They affect your confidence, your direction, your environment, and the way you see yourself. Choosing wrong doesn't just cost time, it costs energy and clarity. But learning to recognize what's wrong early allows you to step away and create space for something better. There are patterns that often show up in the form of simple phrases. One of them is when someone dismisses your emotions by calling you too sensitive or overreacting. This isn't harmless. It's a way of shifting the focus from their behavior onto your reaction. Over time, this makes you question your own feelings and instincts. Instead of trusting yourself, you begin to shrink to keep the other person comfortable. Another common pattern is hiding hurtful words behind, "I'm just being honest." Real honesty doesn't tear someone down, it communicates with respect. When honesty is used as an excuse to be harsh, it reveals a lack of care, not truth. You should never feel like you have to accept cruelty just to prove you can handle realness. Then there's the moment when you express a need or boundary and it gets labeled as controlling. This is where manipulation becomes even more clear. Boundaries are not control, they are clarity. They simply express what you need to feel respected and safe. When someone reacts negatively to that, it shows they value their own comfort more than your well-being. Over time, this can cause you to minimize yourself, lower your standards, and accept less than you deserve just to avoid conflict. Another pattern appears when someone says they're not ready for something serious, but still behaves as if you're in a relationship. They give attention, time, and emotional closeness, but avoid commitment. This creates confusion and keeps you emotionally invested without giving you stability. It places you in a position where you either accept less or risk losing something that feels real. But clarity matters. When someone truly wants you, their actions and words align. There's no uncertainty. And then there's the most subtle one, the statement that you've changed. It may sound simple, but it can be deeply damaging. It often comes when you're growing, setting boundaries, or becoming more confident. Instead of supporting that growth, it's framed as a problem. This can make you question your progress and even shrink back into an older version of yourself just to maintain the connection. But real connection doesn't require you to stay small. It grows with you. When you start noticing these patterns, you might feel a mix of emotions, recognition, frustration, maybe even relief. That's normal. This isn't meant to make you distrust everyone. It's meant to sharpen your awareness, It helps you distinguish between people who genuinely respect you and those who are more focused on what they can take from you. There are people who will never use these patterns, people who respect your emotions instead of dismissing them, people who communicate honestly without being hurtful, people who understand that boundaries create stronger connections, not weaker ones, people who show clarity instead of confusion, and who celebrate your growth instead of resisting it. But you won't recognize those people if you're busy excusing behavior that goes against your instincts. You won't attract something healthy if you're tolerating what feels wrong. And you won't build something meaningful if all your energy is spent trying to fix someone who doesn't want to grow. So start paying attention to how you feel after interactions. Do you feel calm and valued, or confused and drained? Do you feel free to be yourself or pressured to adjust who you are? Your internal response tells you more than words ever will. Trust your first instinct. If something feels off early on, it usually is. If you find yourself making excuses for someone's behavior or questioning your own reactions, pause and observe that pattern. And if you notice yourself changing your standards or personality just to keep someone comfortable, that's a sign worth taking seriously. Walking away from situations that don't honor you isn't harsh, it's self-respect. It's not giving up on love, it's making room for the right kind of love. Every moment spent trying to convince someone to treat you better is a moment taken away from someone who naturally would. The right person won't make you question your worth. They won't require you to shrink or prove yourself. They'll recognize your value and meet you with clarity and intention. Boundaries are not barriers, they are filters. They don't block love, they allow the right kind in. When you express what you need, you're not being difficult. You're creating the conditions for a healthy connection. The people who respect that are the ones worth keeping. Each time you honor yourself, you reinforce your value. Each time you walk away from what doesn't align, you strengthen your standards. And each time you choose yourself, you move closer to the life and relationships you actually deserve. This isn't about becoming closed off. It's about becoming clear. Clear about who deserves your energy, your time, and your presence. Your love is valuable, and it should be shared with those who truly appreciate it. And the most important truth to remember is this: you are not responsible for fixing anyone. You are not here to teach someone how to love you properly. You are not meant to stay in situations that dim your light just because someone else isn't ready to grow. Your responsibility is to yourself, to stay true to who you are, to trust your instincts, and to build a life that feels aligned and peaceful. The right kind of love exists, but it finds you when you stop settling for less and start standing firmly in your worth. Once you start paying attention to language in relationships, you realize it's rarely just about the words themselves. It's about the pattern behind them. A single comment might be harmless, but repeated phrases that dismiss, confuse, or shift blame usually point to something deeper. People reveal their mindset over time, not in one dramatic moment. That's why awareness matters more than reaction. Instead of getting pulled into every emotional exchange, you begin to observe, and that alone changes your power in the situation. A key part of this is understanding how manipulation often works subtly. It doesn't always look aggressive or obvious. In many cases, it feels like confusion. You walk away from a conversation unsure of what just happened, questioning your reaction, or feeling like you need to explain yourself more clearly next time. That's not a coincidence. When someone repeatedly causes you to doubt your own perception, it creates a gap between you and your intuition. And once that gap forms, it becomes easier for them to influence how you see things. This is why trusting your internal response is so important. Your body reacts before your mind catches up. Tightness in your chest, a sense of unease, overthinking after a simple interaction. These are signals. Many people ignore them because they've been taught to be understanding or to give people endless chances. But awareness doesn't mean you become harsh or closed off. It simply means you stop overriding what you feel just to maintain peace on the surface. Another important layer is recognizing the difference between discomfort that leads to growth and discomfort that comes from disrespect. Healthy relationships will challenge you at times, but those challenges come with clarity, respect, and mutual effort. You feel heard even when there's disagreement. In contrast, unhealthy dynamics leave you feeling smaller, confused, or emotionally drained. Instead of building you up, they slowly erode your confidence. Boundaries play a major role here, but not in the way most people think. Boundaries are not about controlling someone else's behavior. They're about deciding what you will and won't accept. When you set a boundary, you're not forcing change. You're creating a standard. The reaction you receive tells you everything you need to know. Someone who respects you may not be perfect, but they will try to understand and adjust. Someone who resists or dismisses your boundary is showing you that your needs are not a priority for them. It's also important to notice how much energy you're spending trying to make something work. When a connection is healthy, effort exists, but it feels balanced. You're not constantly explaining yourself, proving your worth, or trying to interpret mixed signals. When you find yourself doing that repeatedly, it often means you're trying to create clarity where none is being offered, and that's where people lose the most energy, not in relationships themselves, but in the confusion around them. Another shift happens when you stop focusing on potential and start focusing on consistency. Potential is what keeps people stuck. It makes you believe that if you just wait, support, or adjust a little more, things will improve. But consistency shows you reality. It shows you how someone actually behaves, not who they could become. And long-term decisions should always be based on patterns, not promises. You also begin to understand that not everyone who cares about you is capable of loving you in a healthy way. Someone can enjoy your presence, rely on you emotionally, or even feel attached to you, and still not treat you with the respect you deserve. Care without responsibility leads to imbalance. And if you ignore that, you end up giving more than you receive, hoping things will even out over time. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is becoming comfortable with walking away from confusion. You don't always need a dramatic reason or a clear ending. If something consistently feels off, that's enough. Clarity doesn't always come from the other person. It often comes from your decision to stop engaging in something that doesn't feel right. Over time, this awareness changes what you attract and what you tolerate. You stop engaging with people who rely on manipulation because it becomes obvious early on. You also start recognizing healthier behavior more easily, clear communication, emotional stability, respect for boundaries, and consistency. These things may seem simple, but they are what create real connection. The goal isn't to analyze every word someone says. It's to notice patterns, trust your response, and stay aligned with your own standards. When you do that, relationships become less about confusion and more about clarity, and that clarity protects your energy, your time, and your sense of self. At its core, this message is about awareness and self-respect. The words people use are not random. They reveal how they see you, how they value you, and what they truly intend. When you learn to recognize these subtle patterns, you stop doubting yourself and start trusting your instincts again. This isn't about becoming guarded or fearful in relationships. It's about becoming clear about what you deserve, what you will accept, and what you will walk away from. The moment you stop ignoring red flags and start honoring your boundaries, everything changes. Real connection doesn't require you to shrink, question yourself, or tolerate confusion. It feels steady, respectful, and aligned. And when you refuse to settle for less, you naturally create space for that kind of connection to enter your life. In the end, protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's necessary, because the right people won't challenge your worth, they'll recognize it from the start. Before you go, if this message opened your eyes, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Monk Motivation, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what's next. And if you're choosing self-respect from today onward, comment the word aware below.